What's going on, guys? This is Coach Rob, and welcome to Hustle Hard Work. So it's been a while since I've made a video. It's been an amazing summer. I one of the most memorable summers of my life. I had a lot of highs, and unfortunately we had some lows. It was overall an amazing summer. But I'll make a video about my summer. As you can see, the title of today's video is "Are You Rich?" And the reason I asked that is because I guess growing up we've always heard the term rich, and when we assume rich, we think about a lot of money, right? So how much is rich? Like, how do you know if you're rich or not? and I don't think there's a number, an exact number that tells you where you're rich, at least not that I know of. But I know for me personally, growing up, I think that number was a million. A million was that number, that it was such a big number. If you were a millionaire, nobody really said thousandaire or thousands. It was millions. So I think if you had $1 million, you were rich, in my perception. Now, obviously, inflation and all of these things, time has changed, values has changed, so it's not the same anymore. $1 million isn't really much now. But to be honest, I think $1 million is still enough for happiness. I mean, I think anything is happiness as long as you have love, right? And that's, I think, what the moral of this video is. Rich is a feeling, a feeling that only you could feel. So only you know if you're rich or not. And whether how many zeros you have in your bank account, how many digits you have in your bank account, or how much your net worth or whatever it is. I mean, great. But ultimately, what is rich and what is that feeling? So the way that I've come to see rich, and it's funny because I've laughed with friends about it, and I've talked to my wife about it as well. When I think of rich, I think of being able to buy the things that you want without limitations, and ultimately that's the way to live, right? To live within your means. But I guess what I mean by that is growing up, not that I definitely weren't rich growing up, but when we would go shopping, I would always look for a deal, and that was just became part of my way of being. I always wanted a good deal. So it's not so much what I wanted, it's saying, oh, I like this, that's a good deal, and for a good chunk of my life it was like that, and then all of a sudden one day I just started being able to purchase this shirt, being able to purchase these shorts. Shoes was never really a thing, because I always made it a point to buy shoes, whether I had to DJ, I had to save my money from work, whatever I had to do to be able to get the shoes that I wanted. I bought too many shoes, looking back now. But the things that make me feel rich today are little things. Like, I remember the first time I had a PlayStation, I thought it was super cool. And then when I got my son a PlayStation, now we have 2 PlayStations. And that's when they were kind of like, you couldn't go to the store and buy one. They were still kind of exclusive, but we had 2 PlayStations. And I laughed and I told my wife, I'm like, I feel like I'm rich simply because I had the 2 PlayStations, two yachts, 2 mansions, 2 helicopters, 2 planes. I mean, all of those things, obviously, you could call it rich as well, but it's a feeling that you feel, and the idea is to feel rich with what you have, and if you have love, if you have family, if you have friends, then you're already rich. Forget your bank account, but being able to have enough money to cover all your bills, obviously, for you to be able to live free, in the sense that you can buy whatever you want and do whatever you want, and what I mean by that is, if I say right now, I want to buy a helicopter, that's ridiculous, but if I say I want to buy another PlayStation, I could buy another PlayStation. But you see what I'm saying? Living within my means. I don't need the helicopter, I don't need the yachts. I would like to go on a yacht, I would like to experience the yacht for sure, but I don't want to own it. Like, I'm not going to be in the ocean long enough to make it make sense to pay all that money for something. The same as planes, privacy is cool, but there's different levels to everything, and the idea is to feel rich currently, and feel rich in love, feel rich in friendship and family, and understand that whatever money you do have, be grateful for it, and be rich with that, and live within your means. And maybe rich means you're getting a fast food meal and you want to go large, rich, feeling rich is going to a restaurant and saying, can we get drinks? Not thinking about your budget or how much you can spend. It's saying, yes, let's get drinks. Can I get this meal that may be $6 more, and not have to say, oh, $6, that's a lot. Just be able to say, yes, okay, if that's what I want, then I can do it. Those things make you feel rich. And getting there and understanding it, because when I had the most money, or let me rephrase that, when I was generating the most money, I was definitely not rich. I didn't feel rich. There was a time that was fun, but then it got to a point where I was over my head, and that was tough. And that was a tough lesson to learn. But since then, I've learned a lot, and now I feel rich all the time. And money is just a limitation. It keeps me in line with what I can and can't do, and I'm okay with that. And if I want to be able to have more flexibility, then I'll generate more money. But it's not an obsession. It's not something that I obsess over. Something like I used to. I used to want to work and think about money. I want to be rich. And I explained that to one of my sons too, because he said once, and this will be the last thing that he said once to me, I want $1 million. I want to make $1 million. And I said, okay, cool. Well, what are you going to get? And he goes, I don't know, this. And I said, okay, well, that is maybe like $50,000. You could get something much nicer than that, but that's the one you want, no problem. That's about $50,000. What else do you want? This, I'm like, that's $800. This, that's $2,000. So I'm like, my man, you see, you're asking for $1 million, or you think you need $1 million, but what you really need is like, $100,000. But it's just to put it into perspective. And I said, don't worry about the number. Just know what you really want, and you could get that. How you get it, we don't know. But manifestation, believing, wanting something, that's real, and that's being rich. Understanding that you can have anything you want in this life as long as you truly want it, and yeah, as long as you truly want it. And I think some people just don't know what they want, or they think they know what they want, but they don't. So dream big, feel rich, and manifest. Love is rich. Always love. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hustle hard, hard work.